A few years ago, I was on an airplane, and I was seated next to a young couple. The man was wearing a SpaceX t-shirt, and his partner was reading Elon Musk's biography. And seeing this made me realize that there's a certain class of young people who view folks like Elon Musk as a hero, an idol, a really cool guy. Fawning over entrepreneurs and self-proclaimed geniuses is not a new American pastime. Henry Ford tried running for political office despite a long, well-documented history of anti-Semitism. Thomas Edison spent a lot of his career taking credit for other people's work while tending closely to his public mythology. More recently, Steve Jobs was the sleek spokesperson for the fruits of Apple and his abusive managerial practices.
My camera's not turning on. What's that? I did slide it and let go. Not turning on. Here. Okay. We'll let an expert see if he can turn it on.
One way or another, Americans have always loved a guy like this. And since most of you already have a healthy disdain for Elon Musk, especially given his recent appearance at Davos.
You know, I'm often asked, are there aliens among us? And I'll say that I am one, but...
Or you're from the future.
They don't believe me.
Okay.
We're going to move on to the latest spoiled CEO, Palantir's Alex Karp.
If you don't think that's going to lead to nationalization of our technology, you're retarded. And you might be particularly retarded because you have a 160 IQ.
Alex Karp is the co-founder and CEO of Palantir, a military defense technology company valued at $321 billion. Its largest clients include the United States Department of Defense, the Department of War, the CIA, and many other branches of the government. Palantir is responsible for developing tools like Gotham and Maven. These are data-driven and AI-integrated weapons technologies responsible for the drone bombings going on in Trump's big, beautiful war in Iran.
Our weapons software is in every combat situation I'm aware of. Now, maybe the more people with higher clearances are aware of some things we're not involved in.
But don't you worry, Palantir hasn't saved all of its toys for overseas conflicts. Palantir also developed Immigration OS. This is yet another AI-driven platform that centralizes data on non-citizens for tracking and eventual deportation. So the recent ICE deployment in Minneapolis was largely fueled by Immigration OS, and we all know how accurate and smoothly that operation went. Needless to say, Palantir comes across worse than even a fictional shadow government in a James Bond film. Like many of you, I was introduced to Alex Karp when he appeared on a New York Times panel in a condition that suggested he'd been defending the West pretty damn hard that afternoon.
Palantir is named after the Seeing Stones in J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Like, if you make, so I think the real version is, I made a lot of decisions when we began talking, annoying each other 10 years ago. Hopefully I'm annoying you as much as 10 years ago, or more. When I made you know this, yeah. Every decision Palantir made, FDAs, going public, building products, enterprise, large data sets, going to government, acknowledging American superiority, being pro-meritocracy, launching an AI platform, calling into question that AI models would actually be able to perform without orchestration. Every single one, our ontology, every single one of those was viewed as stupid.
The corporate shill that is Alex Ross Sorkin enabled Karp's buffoonish musings, clearly influenced by a boatload of pharmaceuticals and an ego the size of Little St. James Island. Alex Karp loves to say that Palantir has no sales team, and by that he means he is the sales team. Watch him roam through a groomed patch of Colorado snow, dressed as an aspiring Olympian, musing about Palantir's economic viability in no coherent fashion. Who could resist the breathless energy of a man who discovered partying in his mid-40s? Oh, yeah! Alex Karp likes to describe Palantir's mission as defending the culture of the West. If we sit with that statement for a brief moment, this is a man making a surveillance tool that would make the Chinese Communist Party weak in the knees. Yet Alex Karp frames it as a defense of liberty and freedom.
So the surveillance stuff, of course, there's the Pollyannish version of it, which is like our product can never be abused. What is true is that we are highly ethical, but don't believe us on that. We are obviously not building a database. We're not. I mean, the most absurd one is we've built a database in Israel. We're bringing here. Okay, that is complete nuts. First of all, we were in this country from the very beginning, and second of all, you don't need us to build a database. That's like, I have a ruler a ruler and a pencil so I can do math. Oh, I got a calculator. So it's just that's like you're selling your people like corn syrup, cornflakes, or something. Okay, so you get to the big issue. Are we building a database that can be used for surveillance? No. Okay, but the more subtle version is if you're legally surveilled, we don't even really work heavily with the FBI or DOJ. Could you put it in our product? Yes. Are our enemies surveilled using data that goes into our product? 100%, and I completely support that. The most interesting thing about the lie that we are doing this is not that our product couldn't be abused. Any workable technology that's ever been built has been abused. Electricity has been abused. Gasoline engines have been abused. Okay, but our product is the single hardest product in the world to abuse because every single step that you take is absolutely transparent. So if you want to use our product to abuse human rights, you've created a record of you doing it.
And the most insulting part of all of this, he genuinely thinks we don't notice.
Officials say 5-year-old Liam, wearing his blue hat and backpack, and his father, Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, had just pulled into their suburban Minneapolis driveway Tuesday when agents took that father into custody.
The family's lawyer saying the boy's father did come to this country legally, and David, tonight we've learned that both father and son are being held together at a processing facility near San Antonio.
Here's my big beef. If Palantir's tools are as advanced and modern and cutting edge as Alex Karp claims they are, why do they keep getting so many things wrong? Why are ICE officers walking around Minneapolis misidentifying brown people? Remember the Somalian Uber driver? This guy was the man, and he explains the whole thing.
I'm just chilling at my job in the Uber, and this lady just pulls over. And she's like, are you a U.S. citizen? In a parking lot at work. That's the officer lady. And they just shot somebody right now in Minnesota. Imagine that. Are we in Germany? Look at your officers. Hey, the famous guy. I've seen this guy on TikTok. Look at it. He got gas canisters and shit. What's up, officer?
What's going on,
How
man?
you doing?
I have better than I deserve.
Man, let me step out, man. I'm just harassing people based on skin color, man. Are we in Germany?
No, come on.
What do you guys want to do today? You guys want to take me in or something?
Oh, that depends. Are you an illegal alien?
Illegal alien, man. I'm planet. Yes, I might be from another planet.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
if that's the case, if you're from another planet, that counts too.
I'm often asked, are there aliens among us? And I'll say that I am one.
Well, if that counts, well, I'm an alien, guys. Let's do DNA tests and shit. You got a lab? We can run some blood tests, see what the hell I am.
Palantir's tools were never just about self-defense, looking out for the West, protecting our interests. Palantir's tools are a technological justification for a police state, for racism, and now for international warfare. If you're not aware, Palantir not only has a contract with the U.S. military, but also with the Israeli military. So now we are at war with Iran, helping Israel all of it fueled by Palantir technology. When Palantir started in 2003, the U.S. military was one of its major financial backers, and the United States government continues to make up over 50% of funding to Palantir. All of these military operations, all of this funding to Palantir, generated through our tax dollars. I'm paying for this, and you are paying for this. I really don't understand how anyone could look up to this guy. I mean, it would be like looking up to a guy who can beat Elden Ring blindfolded. Sure, on the surface it seems impressive, but when you take a step back, think about what was actually achieved. These videos require me to do research, and unfortunately I had to go on Reddit, which to me seems like the last stop on a long, slow trip to hell. And on Reddit, I found a very active Alex Karp fan base, who frequently refer to him by cringy names like Daddy Karp, Papa Karp. I found an article about Alex Karp's devoted fan base, where a young woman described loving Alex Karp because of his weird hair and inability to finish a sentence.
That is complete nuts.
We need to cool it with idolizing guys who bug out on New York Times panels and who trip on ketamine in the Oval Office. Karp's performance at this panel is exactly what pisses me off about people like him and Elon Musk. This indulgent, juvenile behavior should not be rewarded in any capacity. This is the kind of behavior that would get you fired from the McDonald's at the Framingham Service Plaza. We used to reserve this kind of treatment for people like David Lee Roth from Van Halen. He was awesome. Who didn't love a little bit of Diamond Dave, right? He used to wear cat suits and dance around on stage and drink a lot and act like a douchebag, and everybody loved him because that was his job. He was a rock star. He was not responsible for defense weapon contracts and electric vehicles.
The only people who put iced tea in Jack Daniels bottles is the Clash, baby!
Diamond Dave simply got up on stage, let Eddie Van Halen rip it, and he'd dance around and go, and then that was it. And at some point in our history, that attention pivoted to nerdy tech CEO guys who say shit like this.
Like, I spent a lot of time talking to Nazis, like real Nazis, and like understanding what made them tick and what made them. I mean, part of the crazy thing about people, a lot of the Nazis nowadays, is there's not a single Nazi that would ever have included them in their movement and would have shipped them off to the camps quicker maybe than they shipped me off to the camps. But
long story short, bring back Diamond Dave. What's even more confusing about Alex Karp is the contradiction at the root of his personality. He's a self-described socialist.
Because these business leaders make completely stupid decisions. And they get bailed out. A year later, they're getting huge bonuses. And what do the American people get? Nothing. And that's a huge problem.
A Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton voter and a vocal critic of Donald Trump.
And by the way, I felt very free. I mean, I got in trouble for calling, there's a public tape you can find where I used 4-letter words to describe Trump. But I'll tell you, in part because of the dialogue, I warned my Democratic friends and colleagues that Trump was going to win.
At least until the Trump administration started funding Palantir even more, and then something changed, and I think it rhymes with the word money. I think he gave him a lot of money. I think there's a lot of money involved. Alex Karp says that wokeness is one of the biggest threats to American culture. And what's funny is after October 7th, Alex Karp pledged to hire 100 Jewish employees to Palantir. I'm all for hiring Jewish people, but doesn't that sound a little bit like DEI hiring? Isn't that like a woke thing? Huh. Worst of all, Alex Karp likes to frame himself as a free market maverick, a self-made man, a financial genius.
I mean, not that it comes up very much, but I used to tell people all the time, just imagine we're a Swiss company, but, you know, you have to pay us a little more. Like, we deliver a high-value product. We don't want any BS about getting paid. We're not going to give you any BS about why our product didn't work and offer you a steak dinner or event planning event. we're going to deliver, and then we get paid. And we got paid last year. A lot. 127, 70, 93. Those are my favorite numbers.
But in reality, his entire career has been bankrolled by the U.S. taxpayer. And if I've learned one thing from watching all this footage of Alex Karp, he seems to believe this. It's only fascism if someone else is doing it. But when Alex Karp does it, it's an innovative and dynamic integration of data and AI technology on a global scale. Now we can compare people like Elon Musk and Alex Karp and all of their relentless arrogance to somebody like this.
We're going to have a discussion about the role of AI and the government. You know, AI is becoming something that has implications at the level of all of humanity. This technology abstractly in the hands of government, not just the US government, other governments, democratic governments, autocratic governments, has the ability to vest them with unprecedented power as well. You have a bunch of norms about, how soldiers serve, right? What they see their duties to be. What if you have an army of 10 million drones instead of, 10 million human soldiers? What are the norms of the AI-driven drones? I think if we handle this wrongly, you could have a situation where there's a very small number of people or one person who has their hand on the button and kind of, controls those 10 million drones. And we need to answer these questions because we don't want to make companies more powerful than the government, but we also don't want to make government so powerful that it can't be stopped.
Dario Amodei is one of the co-founders and CEOs of Anthropic, known for creating the chat tool Claude. Now, come on, look at this guy. Very nerdy, zero fashion sense. He's kind of sniffly. You wouldn't be surprised if he had a pack of Kleenex on him. Now listen, I'm not saying Amodei is a saint, but he does seem to have more of a moral backbone than any of these other tech CEOs. Very recently, the Pentagon asked Anthropic to remove safeguards on Claude so they could engage in mass surveillance and autonomous weapon deployment. Anthropic, including Amodei, said no. And even though this shouldn't be the case, the United States government threatened consequences for him saying no. They threatened to label him and Anthropic a national security risk for not complying with these orders. And here's the thing about Amodei. He's still said no. That's what having a line looks like. It took longer than it should have, but most people have finally realized what a fraud Elon Musk is. Once he dropped the ball on making consumer-grade electric cars and started snorting ketamine and gutting the federal government, people began to catch on. And now that he's out of the picture, it's time for us to pay very close attention to Alex Karp. And for all the tech CEO fanboys out there, I think it's time that you found a new hero. Maybe you could try Diamond Dave.
Is everybody having a good time so far right here?
That is complete nudge.
I'm often asked, are there aliens among us? And I will say that I am one.
If that's the case, if you're from another planet, that counts too.
Hey, thank you very much for watching yet another episode of Blood's Dispatch. Thank you for subscribing, tell a friend, all that fun stuff, add to a playlist, I don't know. And please go touch grass and don't watch Alex Karp videos. I feel terrible now. Oh, God.